Mesa May Cry.
Yeah! Lift off! Ha! Breakdown! Rock! Come on! Woo!
I'll be honest, I've wanted to do that segment for such a long time, so, there you go. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Joey Zero's weekly Warframe show. I'm Joey Zero, and today we're joined by special guest D.E. Aidan. Some of you guys may have seen him around the forums and stuff. Aidan, why don't you say hello?
Hi. Thanks for having me. This is awesome. I saw the episode, I watched the episode you made with Taylor a couple weeks ago all about Nova, and then I also subtly was like, hey, if you ever want me to do anything with you, let me know. Because I really, really appreciate the format you do and the way it's actually cut up like a real show. It's it's really, really impressive. So I'm super happy to be here.
Thanks, man. Thanks for the kind words. Well, awesome. Yeah, I can't believe you and Taylor jumped on it as quickly as you did. No, I'm super stoked to have you here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you do at DE?
So as you said, my name's Aidan, or DE Aidan around the forums. What I do mostly is I work on the Warframe Partners program with Taylor. I often refer to her as my partner in crime. Some of us call us DE Taydan. It's just a little amalgamation of our names. But she does a lot more of the kind of public-facing upfront stuff. I'm a little more behind the scenes with what I do. But in the Discord, we have a Discord server where we all talk to each other. I try to be a little more public as time goes on. The other thing I do, as you mentioned, you might see me on the forums, either as a moderator or obviously I post some news occasionally. I can't remember who did this, but one player a while ago referred to me as DE's weak-worded apology bot because whenever we have some news that is maybe, controversial to go over, I often find myself being the one delivering that news. So most notably probably was the final locking of the infamous HEMA thread. That was me. There was Reddit threads posted about me later that day telling people, I don't have an opinion of this guy yet. What is he about? Which I was just kind of laugh at. And then other people saying here they send in their weak-worded apology bot, which I kind of take as now almost a badge of honor in a way. I think often people think of the roles we do as so personal and insular, but we are a team. So nothing I've ever communicated publicly has been me being gung-ho and making a decision, right? It's a very thought out process collaborated on by a bunch of really intelligent people and much more involved and experienced than myself. So I always find it funny when people think I'm, going off on some personal rant or something like that. Doesn't really work that way.
Was it something where you just drew the short straw, or is that a role that you've
no, actually
for yourself?
If I remember correctly, this was still back. I may have still been an intern, or I just started full time. So this was still a year ago, and it was something that I really, really admire about Rebecca as a team lead is she picks really great kind of teachable learning opportunities for when you're kind of learning the ropes, especially on forum stuff, because it can be scary. So with that post in particular, it was just a really nice thing that the two of us got to work closely on, as I kind of was brought into the fold in a sense, into the Warframe news update kind of pipeline. So it was obviously very intimidating, and even at the time I didn't understand really the full scope of the issue or the controversy. Obviously now I have a much more clear picture, but back when I was still a little, whatever, green behind the ears or whatever you'd say, it was obviously daunting, but I've always had so much support from the rest of the team. And if I ever need hey, am I wording this the right way, or am I getting this across the right way? Everyone is always super eager to step in. And we were talking about this last week, actually. Taylor mentioned, we just brought up the fact that she's an incredible editor of text. And I was yeah, you've literally torn apart every single forum post I've ever made, but in a good way that made it better. I kind of give her a hard time about that, but she is meticulous. when it comes to those things. The emails we send you guys, she like fine-tooth combs them, and whatever I end up writing, it's always made 3 times clearer and better by her work. So
That's awesome.
yeah, no, she's a great team member to have.
Well, cool, awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on with the show. We're gonna go ahead and throw it over to XandyPants now for the tip of the week.
Welcome to our tip of the week. My name is XandyPants, and you can call me Xandy.
What are we beholding today, Xandy?
I was just getting to that. Behold! Ace's Peacemaker is very popular, but also rather complicated, so let's have a look at the wiki. Like all exalted weapons, that is, Warframe power-created weapons, Peacemaker has stats somewhere, like an actual normal weapon, but they aren't listed in-game, hence the wiki. It does 50% impact, 25% puncture, and 25% slash damage with its 50 base damage. It has 10% status chance, 25% critical chance, and a juicy 3x critical multiplier. So these are pretty good critical stats, and that status chance might seem low, 10%, but remember that you're looking at your total status output. Only 10% of our bullets proc a status at base, but it's also important to think about just how many bullets we're firing each second. Yeah, a lot of them. So then Peacemaker has these weird damage multiplying qualities. You fire in bursts of 2, and every time you fire a burst, you get increasingly larger fire rate and outgoing damage buffs. These values both cap out eventually, but they're important to keep in mind. Since your damage and fire rate go up every time you shoot, you'll reach your maximum damage output much faster with some extra fire rate. With that in mind, let's talk about builds for Peacemaker. Keep in mind that just like other exalted weapons, Peacemaker is not affected by your equipped weapons base stats, or Riven mods, or augments, or passives in any way. All weapons perform identically with Peacemaker, except for one exception, which we'll talk about later. So I'm using something like your standard hybrid build with anemic agility to ramp up our fire rate to our maximum damage potential as fast as possible. One bit of weirdness here is that your overall damage will be higher with another elemental mod instead of Hornet Strike, your standard base damage mod. That's because Peacemaker has an innate damage multiplier that acts exactly like a base damage mod and is additive with base damage mods. So that's this damage multiplier you see here. To put it simply, with my 200%-ish ability strength, it's as if my Peacemaker automatically has a Hornet Strike and an Augur Pact on it already, because I already have 313% bonus base damage. So adding another elemental mod results in a larger overall damage increase because our total base damage and our total elemental damage multiply the benefits of each other, but only add to themselves. And we have more base damage multipliers than elemental damage multipliers. We have 313% base damage and only 120% elemental damage before we add this additional elemental mod. So you get the largest final damage increase by adding more of whatever you have less of. This principle applies to all weapons, but often isn't important on hybrid weapons, since you don't have enough modding space for it to actually matter. This is my normal Xenoid Gamma Core build, and as you can see, we don't even have enough room for another base damage or elemental mod after our combo and all of our base damage mods, and then I'd like Ruinous Extension, lots of people use Seeker, whatever. But it makes a big difference no matter what element you choose. So I chose Corrosive here because I find it stronger in a vacuum, but if you're running Corrosive Projections, Viral would be a sweet choice. And although it's not actually very good, Gas Peacemaker is very fun. And as a final remark, note that Arcane Velocity can be triggered by Peacemaker and does affect it, resulting in the insane fire rate you've been seeing this whole time. The one weapon that can change Peacemaker's functionality, which I alluded to earlier, is the Dual Toxicist, but that headshot buff currently has a very low duration of 3 seconds. Dual Toxicist can refresh its own buff, but Peacemaker can't. So even though it does benefit Peacemaker, it only does so for a very, very short time, and it won't be a DPS increase unless you can get a headshot extremely fast right before you want to use Peacemaker. So I feel that Arcane Velocity is the new Dual Toxicist for Peacemaker's purposes, which is fine with me. Dual Toxicist is already a good weapon, go figure. I've been Xandy and you've been dandy, and I hope your Peacemaker damage is spicy when you apply these tips. Thanks for tuning in to our tip of the week, and now, on with the show.
Welcome everyone to Framethoughts, the only series that answers every single question you have about Warframe. Today we're talking Mesa, and I'm going to show you the single way of making the most powerful Warframe in the world. So, if you're ready, let's go to the arsenal, upgrade, and then... Wait, hold on a second. I don't do mod builds! I am so sorry about that start. You see, I never talk mods because when I do, I can feel all the mod builders judging me already. But do not worry, young Tenno, as on this show we don't need mods to make the most powerful Warframe ever. In fact, I am talking about an alternative way, a method that no one's ever seen or even talked about, but has been right in front of us this entire time. And it all starts with Alad Fee. After defeating Alad on Jupiter, we meet him again in Patient Zero, a quest that happens before the second dream, but can only be acquired from the Eris Junction? Come on, DE! What is this? In Patient Zero, Alad Fee has been infected by the infestation, and plans to bring the entire universe together by infesting Corpus, Grenier, and yes, even Tenno. During the quest, he describes how powerful the infestation is, and to prove it, he sends an infested Mesa to fight you. Now this caught my attention. Could Alad Fee be right? Would infecting your Warframe really make it that much more powerful? The answer, surprisingly, is yes. If we look at the stats for the infested Mesa, we find that she has 1700 health, 1000 shields and 200 armor. Compared to a regular Mesa, that's 300 to 450% more survivability. And that's at rank 30. Now you can make up for this difference with mods. However, even when using all survivability mods, you would still need a mod X that increases health by 42%, shields by 39%, and armor by 1% just to come even. By that time though, you'll have used 7 out of your 10 mod slots, with only 2 regular and 1 extra slot remaining. Whereas for the infested Mesa, these are her base stats. She still has all mod slots open, and on top of that can use all abilities as we've seen whilst fighting her, proving that the infested is our only salvation, or that space herpes are more serious than we thought.
Alright, so Aidan, just out of curiosity, what is your favorite weapon, just like in general?
Yeah, that's a tough call. I really like the shotguns in the game. I guess like if I'm just gonna sort it by what I've used the most, yeah, probably the Tigris Prime and the Archiplasmor are probably my like kind of go-tos. But more recently, I've been really loving the Tiburon Prime, and also it's because I got a Riven for it, and I just like the versatility it has. Because I didn't really have like a good build for any assault rifle type weapons, but with the Riven and the stuff, man, I know you said favorite weapon, I just keep listing them all, but
No, it's okay.
So, oh man, this is so tough. You know what? I gotta say the Pandero, actually. I think in terms of both for pairing with Mesa, it is like literally a gunslinger's pistol. The alternate fire is a hammer fanning, clip emptier. I still need a Riven for it, but I think just the mechanics of the weapon are my favorite, and I think I've just kind of had a long-term affinity for just how cool it is and how satisfying it is to pull off that perfect fanned hammer sweep of a group of enemies. It just matches the whole aesthetic.
Well, cool. This week we're actually taking a look at the newest rifle, the Veldt. So we're gonna jump right into that just right after a word from our sponsors. Yeah, yep, there you go.
Now it's time for an unpopular opinion.
DE need to change the Lato Vandal and Bratton Vandal drops from the Elite Sanctuary Onslaught to appease the angry closed beta players. What they should be changed to is Bloom equivalents, where upon firing said weapon, a flower will pop out the end of the gun and do absolutely nothing.
You just watched Xenogelion giving an unpopular opinion. Brought to you by Xeneric brand energy soda. Get energized.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the newest rifle in Warframe, the Veldt. It's a semi-auto hit-scan rifle that wants to be a sniper. It has an above-average crit multiplier, decent status chance, and the IPS is skewed a bit more towards slash on this one. It also has a sniper-like zoom mechanic, but unlike snipers, you don't get any extra stats from zooming in. It's really just there for your aim. For what it's worth, I'm running a viral build with hunter munitions. I've also tried a corrosive status build, and it just doesn't compare. Now, overall, I'd say this weapon is a bit lackluster. I might be saying that because I'm not a big fan of semi-auto rifles, but compared to most other weapons, both in its class and other weapons with a similar playstyle, there aren't really many situations where I would have preferred this weapon over any of those others. We're talking about the Tiburon Prime, the Argonac, the Dex Sybaris, the Rubico, the Volcar, the Latron. All of these are weapons that I feel play very similarly with their own different mechanics, but most of them manage to outpace the Veldt in terms of their damage, and many of them come with significantly more utility. So far, I'd say the biggest use case for the Veldt is if you want that zoom, but you don't want to have to deal with the sniper scope, which, by the way, you can turn that off in the options menu. Oh, and really quick, I know a lot of you have asked why I don't just pause the AI in these, and that's to minimize the effect of blast and impact procs to try and get the highest consistency I can when showing off the damage output. So more headshots, less stumbling around, less time wasted waiting for the enemy to recover. It's not super important, but I'm just trying to do what I can because I know there are some simulacrum mains out there that can be really picky about stuff like that. So overall, like I said, I feel the Veldt is pretty lackluster. I mean, it'll get the job done, and it'll do so pretty well if looking at it on its own, standalone merit, but there are better weapons out there. However, I could see this being a decent upgrade for like a low MR player who prefers the semi-auto weapons, looking to the Veldt as an upgrade while working towards a different rifle. If I had to rate this one, I'd give it 2 out of 5 because honestly, I mean, it's enough to get you through the star chart content and, it's enough to get you through the sorties, but there are so few situations where I would prefer to have this weapon over the other ones. So, that's it. There you go. That's the Veldt. Thank you for leaving your suggestions for weapons on the last episode. Next up is going to be the dual carries, but I'm still taking suggestions for what other weapons you guys would like to see on future episodes. So go down to those comments and let me know. So that's the Veldt. So do you have any final thoughts or anything that that you want to say to the Zero Nation?
Well, it's a really nice name for your community. So just a few quick things. I just really, again, wanted to thank you for bringing me on this. When I watched Taylor's episode, obviously, as you know, there's like 200 plus partners, so we don't get a chance to watch all of your content, and it's a lot easier when, if people make things that they're particularly proud of, they send our way to check out. And I was honestly so proud of the work that you've done, both obviously as an individual partner creator, but collaborating with other Warframe partners. And that's kind of always the dream that Taylor and I have had for the program since we started managing it together last year. We build it as a community and you guys work together on things and bounce ideas off each other and, make content together. And I think you are setting such a great example for what collaboration can mean in the Warframe partner program. And I am excited to see more of that. And hopefully your weekly Warframe videos kind of inspiring other partners to get involved and do stuff like that. I think it's just awesome. Secondly, I moderate the forums. So if you go there, please read the guidelines. Just be chill, be nice to each other. There's no reason to get into an argument about something and start slinging insults. Just be cool, be a good person, and you won't have to hear from me. And that's really, really nice, because forum moderating is the one job that, when you're doing it well, most people aren't really happy about it because you've been treated unfairly. But I'm not doing this because of some personal vendetta. We have pretty obvious rules, so stick to those, and don't assume that I am doing this because you offended me personally. I am enforcing the rules as they exist. So I want to hear what you have to say, and I want you to say that in a way that is constructive and respectful to fellow players, and also the brilliant people that work on this game and pour their, passion and energy into it, and, don't deserve some of the treatment they get by a very select and small percentage of the people that give us feedback. So, participate in forums and be cool, be good, and be good at it.
Awesome. I think that's it for this one, you guys. Make sure to check out all the other creators that were involved in this video. All the links are going to be in the description below. But yeah, Aidan, thanks so much for being here, man. I appreciate you coming onto the show and hanging out with me for a little bit. And
yeah, thanks for having me. This has been super fun.
All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Thanks so much for watching. I'm not really quite sure what else to say, so I'll say it again. Check out all the other creators. Come say hi to me on Twitter. Hang out with us on Twitch. There's a Discord link down there. Okay, guys, my name is Joey Zero. Okay, bye.